we're going to go out of order here, but I think it's important. The War of 1812. Polly was here with her 4 children. Her husband had just died, presumably of a rattlesnake bite or farm accident. We're not really sure which. They had come here in 1801. They had purchased the property and then taken some time to build the original tavern before they got here. Polly and her kids arrived in 1805. A little bit of time there. The buildings were built by the Holland Land Company, at least in partnership with them, including this barn. It's a Dutch construction barn, super rare for this area. If you look at it, it has these big open doors kind of open on the side as well. The Holland Land Company built this barn and the tavern as a means to settle this area. At that time, when the Forsyths got here, everything east of here, east and west, today, was called the Endless Woods to Forsyths. So it's very dense wood. I have a bit of a picture to kind of show you what it looked like. It's hard to gauge in this time and era. Go through these real quick. So it looked kind of like this. Some of the records say it was just about 15 inches wide of dirt. It was really just a path. The fortunate part was, before they got here, this was a Native American settlement. We're sitting on a natural spring. So it's from ancient times, really. There used to be a lakefront with a river behind us. Over time, the river got buried, and there's another spring right on the property. So what makes that important is it's fresh water. So you had to have fresh water to have any sort of settlement area. It was, running about the 1800s, really beer was king. Your water from your streams, lakes, it was dirty. You had to heat it, you had to boil it, but processed water, things like beer, is what would have been your staple. Except that a lot of these taverns had a vat of cider next to the door that you would just take a sip from when you got in there off the road. I usually have a canteen on me, it's somewhere. But freshwater was king. So this spot was already cleared, and it was designed as being important for that fresh water. The Holland Land Company came through and picked all the spots throughout Niagara County that had springs, and that's where you had your original taverns. The family itself, they were all tavern keepers. Polly and John had an interesting way of finding each other. I'll talk more about that later, but they both came from tavern families. They both are 2 of the oldest families in America, and they were both families that predominantly built taverns their entire life, through generations and generations. So they were hired to do this job. So, John had just died of a rattlesnake bite or some other accident. He died of paralysis in 1812 rather, just before the War of 1812 started, got kicked off. So Polly was here with her 4 children. She had 2 boys and 2 girls. She was known as Widow Forsyth at that point, and after the British invasion and burning of Lewiston and Buffalo, the residents of that area fled down Ridge Road. It was the only way in or out. So they stopped here, they pled with Mary, saying, more or less the British are invading, which is something she would have known, and they pled with her to go with her. She declined. Part of that is because taverns were female-dominant spaces. They were the only spaces in colonial America and really all of the world that women were meant to run it. It was her property, it was her tavern. So if she left and the British did burn it, there was nothing saying that she would be able to even get this land back. So that she was very adamant that she was going to stay and protect her space and her children. So she sent her 2 boys out, she stayed with the 2 daughters. Idea of that is she knew that if the British did come, they would most likely take her boys and enlist them or hold them for ransom, where her daughters were hopefully going to be treated more respectfully. They were, I think, only like 4 and 3 years old, so they were still babies. So she stayed here, protected her flock and her farm, and she just was alone for quite a while. A year later, the Vermont cavalry came through, a man named Sergeant Ezra Warren and his men. They turned this barn behind us into a provisions depot and turned her tavern into their headquarters. So fortunate for her because it did make this area fortified. She had men to protect it. We have found cannonballs in the field behind you there. So there's no record of battles here, but there are signs of it. She was also, there was over 1,000 barrels of provisions in this space. We have some barrels to just kind of show what that looked like, but they had over 1,000 barrels of pork, whiskey, flour. I'm missing 1 or 2. But it was essentially just fill the barrels. I'm stepping in the shade if you guys want to join me.
Ooh, that's nicer, right?
So they turn the air on inside. We'll go there next, I promise.
Beautiful.
It is a beautiful barn. It did suffer a fire at one time. Yep. But that's where it was. So, War of 1812. Sergeant Edward Warren was stationed here with his men. They were assigned to not just protect the provisions here, which was the prison depot for the regular American Army. But they were also assigned to arrest any deserters that were found on the road. This was the only way in or out for a long time. So this is fortified space where he was used literally for the War of 1812. Holly was also using his kitchen at that point to bake for the soldiers. The next tavern up the road, which was in Dickerson's at that point, had been building a large encampment. She was using her ovens to bake bread for them. So she was very involved in the War of 1812, and doesn't get credit for it really, because she was quite brave and risked her life. On the wall you back there, you'll see that she was turned in by a man named Preston Bacon. That is part of his deposition. He was with the American Army, and he came through here on a spot out Mary had, and then he went straight to Fort Niagara and then Toronto and told them. He said exactly what she had, where she had it, the best way to get here, all the details of the British Army needed to come and save. Fortunately for her, they didn't make it all the way here. You know, they burned most of all kind of new thing on their way here. Through fate, through the fortifications here, what have you, there's not a lot of records on it, they never made it here. So that's the only reason all this is still standing, and that she really survives past that point. So we're going to go back inside the tavern, talk a little bit more about before that point. If you want to go around this, do a little circle perhaps. Oh. There's some barrels in that corner. I think one of them that has a stamp on it is original to the family somewhere. A lot of these pieces that you'll see through this tour are like that beat off and all the time were all part of this family. This part of it, it's a multi-page deposition. It's very long. It's on our website, I believe, and everyone read the whole thing. It's fascinating stuff. That's a section about Polly specifically. He kind of spills the beans on everyone and everything. Another fun thing is that window in the top. This barn was built pre-barn windows, so that is one of the earliest means of ventilation in a barn. It's a fun thing to still have it up there. A lot of barns replace them with windows. All right, back in the heat for a minute. I promise air conditioning. Hi. How are you? Good. Pictures have gotten out of order.
I'm glad you guys came.
Yeah.
Nobody there.
Let's catch up.
Yeah.
A bit of them. Probably would have ended. So the original tavern actually just a part of that building. The original looked more like this. Which was a very quaint building, Dutch construction style. I have a slide on over here so cars can get through. By its end, by all the additions, it looked more like this one. I'll have you all come this way. This is with the kitchen wing back on it. You can see inside that we are in the process of rebuilding that kitchen wing back to how it was. This side over here. We're standing up over here right now. So it's quite a lot larger than what's left today. Yeah. And then I can show you one more before we actually get in there. This would look like when we got here. It was pretty darn rough.
Mm-hmm.
So we got here, it had been abandoned for about 10 years or so.
I just don't want you guys to get run over if people are coming out the wrong way. Now we got
Mm-hmm.
I'll be on it.
What's that?
we have somebody on this side.
Hi.
Where do people live?
No, not
Go
always.
straight through to Italian Green and tell him he'll show you where to park.
So one thing, when it comes to taverns, obviously it was a small space by our standards, still is today. But really at the time, your options were either being inside or being in something like this. So one story, one of the early governors of New York, DeWitt Clinton, he came through here on a tour to try and plot the Erie Canal, and he kept a diary of all the places he stayed in. He said up to this point, he didn't stay in any of the taverns that he crossed on the river. They were all full of bedfellows and other nasty critters, and he actually slept in the lawn most of the time. But in Polly's Tavern, she kept a good house. She slept inside and dined inside. So to keep that kind of perspective when you go in there, it was either you got what you got, or you slept out in the grass. There was no other options.
Okay.
We're gonna wrap it around,
Okay.
keep it moving.
Okay.
And then, if anyone has any questions afterwards, I'm gonna direct them back down to you.
Okay.
I'm gonna yell back because I'm running late on my tours.
Oh no. Okay.
I'm so rusty. I'm still learning everything. It's been a couple years here. This is the original side of the tavern. This is circa 1805 or earlier. Like I said, Polly got here in 1805. There were no records at that time. Presumably John built this with the Holland Company before she got here. So around that time. This side, like I said, is all that there was. The original front door is actually where that window was. This side was broken through when this became a family space, and the whole tavern was taken over by a single family. Originally, there was a bar on the floor here. Look down, you can see where the lines are for the front. This is the staircase down to the basement, and this wall, you can even see the indents of where the boards are supposed to be. We're in the process of rebuilding this and how it looks originally. Back here would have been your public bedrooms, the staircase up the second floor. That's gone now. But if you look at this space, it's very small. So then dining, bedroom, anyone who came off the road and needed a place indoors, you really would make do with what you had.
What about the decorations around there?
Yes, those are stenciling. That is a best guess at what they would have had. These walls are all plaster, horsehair plaster and lath. They are the original plaster and lath for the most part. Mine, there's a few repairs along the way. Things like this, we took up to see where the original plaster started and where they had patched it. These are where the cupboards would be for the bar. In the process of doing some excavation to find out what was changed through the years, but all of these walls are all original. Upstairs, there's a cabinet above me. If you go up there, you can kind of spend some time look around. There are sections of the plaster that we took out. You'll be able to see exactly what it looks like and the different types of hair that are in them. Really fascinating stuff. The walls are also full of brick. They're all brick lined as well. You can see along the top in that room too. But I'll take you upstairs. After I give my spiel, you're welcome to keep looking around and exploring a bit. Through the years, there was a fireplace here, so most likely this would have been kind of your family space on this side. Men or other people who didn't need to stay there would be on the back side of the fireplace. Like I said, it looked a lot like that. These walls were added in slowly and through the years, piece by piece. Making plaster in the frontier was a lot of work, took a lot of time, and you had to have your kids do it. When it was open, they had, I believe, 12 kids here at one time. So if you go into that space over there, which was the original tavern, when they opened this side, it became family space. So the entire family slept on that side. Both sides are bedrooms. If you peek your head in that left one and look to the right, you will see part of the original wallpaper on the wall, which try and make it look a little bit cleaner. There was never plaster on the ceiling. There was never any other finishing work in there. It was very, very primitive. Like your options were log cabins, tents, those are the kind of things being built around here at this time. There's a log cabin actually up the road that way from 1830 that is still a primitive log cabin. So this is very advanced for its time as well. Yeah, you can check that out. The room around there. So there is rumor that this place was used near a railroad. We know the family was involved in the abolitionist movement. Whether this building was used for that purpose or not is just pure speculation. John Forsyth was a well-known, what's the word I'm looking for him? He was a smuggler. So he actually came from Canada. His family was one of the pioneers of Canada after the Revolutionary War. They owned the top of the Horseshoe Falls. So he and his brother got arrested quite a lot for smuggling. And the last time they were arrested for smuggling a black man in their wagon across the border. At that time, if you had reached Upper Canada, you were free. So they were probably making a good amount of money bringing the slaves to Canada. They were jailed, and so English court back then, the judge only came like 3 times a year. So potentially they were waiting a long time in jail. So they had to get creative. They escaped that prison. John came to what was then Ganson Settlement and met Mary Ganson, who became Polly Forsyth. His brother went back to Canada, and he had a successful business and was the end stop on the Underground Railroad across Canada. Yeah, I'm wrapping it up.
Amy's closing.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's all good. I'm gonna keep circling through.
I'm gonna bring you to.
So this was. Yes, so some of these are original to the property. Yeah. So some of these are original to the property. Things like the spinning mill is original. That's Mary's spinning mill. All the tools in there are original as well. A lot of stuff downstairs too if you explore through there a little bit. Yeah. This space though, I'll finish this before I go. So it was a smuggler's room. We do know that Ezra was part of the abolitionist movement from some of the records that we have, some letters and such.
This is the original building. The original building ended at this wall.
He was a cabinet maker. He escaped from his master would come off to capture him. The newspaper article explained a lot of that, and it said that he was being taken care of by some of the neighbors. So we presume it was Ezra Warren just from his role in the abolitionist movement, and we know that Ezra had sent him $100 when he reached Canada and paid for himself. And this man in turn gave his first born child. So he definitely had a large part. So that's a speculation that they were using that space for that purpose. It was definitely fugitive. Definitely small. The cool street nonetheless. The family farm was part of the abolitionist movement. They used to be a schoolhouse that Ezra built. The information on both of those boards about those. Ezra built a grocery store, schoolhouse, and a grocery. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to wrap it up then.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions? Both of these ladies.
Archaeological finds.
Yeah, and then like a little room in it.
Secret space. I'm blown away with paintings. Oh, the rosebuds are absolutely beautiful. They're so rare. Between the beds being rare.
I was just literally just reading that. We did see one for sale somewhere, and I cannot remember.
Was it just the number of beds though for travelers, 2 beds?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I'm sure that it was set up maybe more long style, and instead of just the two. You would put it in and out of beds in.
And that is the tour.
Well, remember, and
I hope to see the basement if I can.
there's an atlas there.
Wow. It's amazing, isn't it?
Well, the problem with that is you can't regulate it.
Hey. Well, hello. The rough and tumble way.
Plus, the post office was right in there.
Ah,
The little window outside the store with the mail could come in.
Excuse me. Do you know if there's a book for sale?
There is a book for sale
Where is it?
in the, big barn. Have you been in the big barn?
No, but I
Yep,
passed
the
it.
antique, yep, you're gonna, where all the antiques are? Yep, tell
Very
the lady
good.
at the checkout you want a book.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Want it to be a surprise. Yeah, right on. So we'll just get a reminder. Hey, Justin, right? Hey,
good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you again. Visit the Forsyth Tavern online and the link below. Hi. That's the whole building there. This part here is the oldest part there, the first third of it, and then add on to the rest of it later. So the part closest to us, the east side, is the oldest part. Off of Ridge Road, off of Town Line Road, coming down and north of Lockport. Right on the Cambria-Lockport municipal lines. Hello there. What a beautiful and historic place. We always appreciate your support, and this foundation is always open to new members.